Hello guys, and welcome to an episode of Old Tanks Replays. This time we are going to be doing just going to talk about the Super Pershing this episode because it got kind of killed by 8.8. So I'm just gonna play it with V. We're just gonna have it a little backdrop. This is a pretty good game actually.
Time to roll out.
So yeah, this Super Pershing. This is a tank I've always really liked, and I have not necessarily liked it because it was a good tank, or it was this, or it was that. It was that I played it so much, and it was my only major credit earner, that I got very good at this tank's playstyle. And this tank had one of the hardest playstyles in the game. Let's just review what it was like before 8.8 hit. It had the worst gun of Tier 8 premiums. Yes, it's worse than the KV5's gun, because it had the second worst penetration. It has the worst DPM, I believe. I'm almost certain of that, of the Tier 8 premium guns. It has okay accuracy and soft stats, that's fine. This tank also shoots pretty well on the move, but the gun's penetration, DPM, alpha damage are all very poor. Now, additionally, this thing is extremely slow, so that's another check against it. Sure, its top speed's great. When you go down a hill, it goes pretty quickly, but top speed's not everything, as demonstrated by the AM explosion. So this thing is by no means a fast tank, though it is not necessarily a slow tank either. It gets around at about 28 with a fully spruced up crew. And the thing about the Super Pershing is that this armor kept it alive. This spaced armor was able to absorb shots of anything you could ever see. And the spaced armor was largely countered by the fact that if you look at the front profile of the tank, all of that is weak spot. So although its front was nearly indestructible, all shells of the tanks it was facing, the weak points are very large on this tank. I do not remember the percentage, but I believe the percent area is about 15% of the front is weak spot. So this tank was renowned for being able to be at a mid to long range engagement and trying to make the enemy miss its weak spots. At close range, this thing would oftentimes perform pretty poorly because they would have very easy shots at the weak spots. Now, in 8.8, they just destroyed this thing. I know they gave it better ground resistance, which actually does give it, I think it gave it like 20 more effective horsepower or whatever, but the armor now has an effective thickness of, I believe, 208, and that's in the thickest part on here. The part up here isn't even that thick anymore. So, Tier 7 heavies can go through your armor half the time. Nobody really needs to aim. It's a shame. I'm not selling my Super Pershing. I really hope they realize what they've done with it, and that they do in fact buff it in some sort of way. They really should have worked on this gun, because this gun is effectively the same gun that the Pershing has. The gun that the Pershing never historically mounted, because the Pershing mounted with that gun was this thing, a Super Pershing. So this gun is a disgrace to its historical counterpart. I could make an argument about that. I posted many things on the forums. But this gun just underperforms completely. This gun was supposed to be a direct counterpart of the Tiger II's 88, the one that we see on the Tiger H is the top cannon. And in-game it doesn't fit that role. It doesn't fit that role at all. It fits the role of a flanking support gun. And this thing isn't the greatest at flanking. and this thing is meant to take shots, so it's a bit of a waste of your armor to be a support. But now that the thing is slow, has armor that's not that valuable, a gun that's the worst of the tier 8 premiums, there is no point in this tank anymore. I'm sorry. Well, that's for my rant about the Super Pershing. It's a sad story, but alas, it is true. I will not be selling this thing. I will just be waiting patiently. Hello, welcome to the after action report for that game you guys were watching in the background while I was talking about the Super Pershing. So yeah, that was a very good game. 1,181 base experience, 67,653 credits, steel wall. Did 626 damage to that T34 there at the end, as well as 710 to that Tiger II at the end, 941 to that T69 I was fighting in the streets, single shot 221 to that T71, and a single shot for 217 to the looks. Also knocked out the track and destroyed a track at the Tiger II, knocked out a track at the T69, and destroyed the engine of the Lukes with 300 spotting damage to the Tiger II. So all that amounts up to 2,715 damage, which is pretty good for this gun's low alpha damage and DPM, like I said. And we had somebody on our team who did even better, with 1,159 experience and 3,518 damage. Good job to him. And detailed report, we can see that 19 shots fired, 16 direct hits, 14 penetrations. I was in a lot of flanking situations, which is a little unusual for the Super Pershing, but can be pulled off in a map like Himmelsdorf. 17 hits received, 10 penetrations, 7 non-penetrations. Yeah, as you see, even before 8.8 has rolled out, the Super Pershing takes a lot more pens than it does bounces. Despite that extremely thick armor, its weak spots are so obvious and so large that it often is just a waste of time to rely on the armor in close quarters. And if you don't even get those 7 non-penetrations, it's more of an issue. 3,060 potential damage received, 5 enemies damaged, 1 destroyed, 300 spotting damage. Over there we see that we got 61,000 credits, plus some event credits, and a total of 57,251. What am I saying? So yeah, as far as I know, the profitability of the Super Pershing is still going to be the same after 8.8. I haven't played it after 8.8 came out, but it should be the same, but it theoretically will be the same, but you will never get as good games because the tank just will not perform on the level which it used to, which in the first place was never a very high level. Okay, like I said, 1,074 base experience, and that was a pretty nice game of my Super Pershing, and I'm very sorry to see this thing get taken down by a nerf like this. This is my first and only tier 8 premium, and I'm considering buying another tier 8 premium, but I ain't gonna sell this thing because you just never know. I hope Wargaming realizes how crippled this thing is, and realizes that if they're gonna do what they did to the armor, they need to make up for it in more than 10 view range and 30 effective horsepower. So, yeah. Until next episode, I'll see you guys.